want none! You don't want none!
What's going on, Tar Heel Nation? It is your favorite North Carolinian, Russ the Tar Heel, and welcome to this week's episode of Russ's Rant in the Tar Heel Mobile. I actually just got finished leaving the gas station. Had to put some diesel fuel in this bad boy so that we could get through this episode. But what I want to talk about in this episode is the importance for North Carolina in the last half of the season to win big, especially in these next 3 football games. The reason being, the competition, for all intents and purposes, is a little bit lower than what we've had for the first half of the year. We got 1-5 Virginia coming in, Georgia Tech, and FCS Campbell. So we're getting into unprecedented territory where we are number 10 in the entire nation, which is huge at the halfway point. That really puts us in really good position to make a run towards the college football playoff. But one of the things that you also have to keep in mind is there are still other undefeated teams. And there are still other teams that are really good. And Carolina needs to really start impressing in the box score. Now, one of the cool points, one of the impressive things that Carolina has done this year already is they're the only Division I football team, this is Power 5, that has 5 wins versus Power 5 opponents in double digits. Their lowest being the last game against Miami, which is a shame because up 38-17 with about 10.5 minutes to play, Carolina really had a golden opportunity to thump them. And I mean, we know as Carolina fans that going into that second half, after that third quarter, it was a thumping. I mean, that final score was not even close to as indicative of how that game actually went. But if you're just Joe Schmo on the couch who doesn't watch a lot of ACC football, or, he didn't catch the Miami-Carolina game, he was watching some of these other teams, well, he just looks at the box score and he says, well, Carolina won by 10. And, it's an impressive victory. That's a top 25 team, or fringe, depending on what poll you're looking at. It's a good victory, but people want to see, they want to see sexy. I mean, that's the best way to put it, is they want you to win convincingly. And the box score, the final box score, it has to indicate that. I mean, I've talked with Miami fans after the Miami game, and even Miami fans, a lot of them, they're like, yeah, I mean, it's definitely feasible that Carolina is the better football team, but I mean, y'all only beat us by 10. As if the final score was truly indicative of what transpired through that game, even the second half, if you will. It's like they themselves don't even recognize the whooping that was put on them, especially in the third quarter. 38-17, that's a good margin of victory. And I picked 37-17 for the final. But then people just revert back to, well, it was only 41-31. It doesn't matter that they scored with 2.5 minutes left, et cetera, et cetera. So playing Virginia, it is imperative that the North Carolina Tar Heels go into that game and handle business, and not just win, but win convincingly. Because winning 30-20, 40-24, 41-24, that's not going to impress anyone. Yes, it's another W in the win column. Get it. I got it. I'm tracking. But it's not going to impress. In games like this where we already know, there's a 95% chance that we win this football game, you really do have to start looking at handling them convincingly. Because the individuals that come out with the polls, they are going to start looking more and more at how convincing was your victory against these teams, especially these bad teams. So, Carolina needs to whoop them, man. It needs to be a 35, 40-point margin of victory. I mean, that's what is going to impress the pollsters. That's what's going to get us over the hump, with these one-loss teams. If I'm not mistaken, there's still 2 one-loss teams that are ahead of undefeated North Carolina. And that's disrespectful, man. It is. That is disrespectful. There are teams that have lost in the top 10 that are ahead of the University of North Carolina right now. And the only way to mitigate that is to win convincingly. And it starts, obviously, in Chapel Hill against UVA in the South's oldest rivalry this Saturday, 6:30, night game. Fans need to be there, and they need to help them get a big W. Now, I'm hoping that North Carolina can handle business. Maybe a 35-7, 42-7 type, game going into the half. And then maybe your starters come out for 1 or 2 possessions where you put it over 50. I mean, maybe this is wishful thinking, but this is what I'm wanting to see. I want them to see them going hard despite the opponent. It's going to be easy to be like, this is UVA. They barely beat William & Mary, We'll just kind of trot in here, get a W, and move on. No. If we want to get to where we want to get, which every North Carolina fan at this point should be thinking CFP. I mean, yes, the goal is an ACC title. It's to get to the championship game. It's to get to the ACC title. But you should be having on your radar legitimately, hey, CFP at the end of the year. That's where we want to be. That is where we want to be. And it's starting to get it to that point where you can start to argue that it's CFP or bust as good as this team is playing and with the schedule that we got coming up. So, great opportunity ahead of us, but we got to win big, man. You can't beat teams by, can't beat Virginia by 14 and expect to impress people. And then beat Campbell, 34-14 or something like that and say, well, we won. No, nobody. Look, when you're starting to compete against these other teams for pole positioning and college football playoff hopes, you have to have the sexier victory, man. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying that's how they're going to look at it. And we've done some good work. We're the only Power 5 team that has 5 Power 5 victories of double digits. The only one. But the stigma that North Carolina has. And everybody and their mom is going to point back to that stinking App State game that's not doing us any favors because they haven't necessarily been great this year. So we got to win big. Because you can kind of point to that as, well, that was a once-off. But look at this body of work since then. That was the second game of the year. So the margin of victory is going to be important. And I want to see them boys come out swinging, man, and swinging hard. Put it to them, bro. Put it to them. It's a great opportunity, man, to flex. And, that's not unsportsmanlike. All is fair in love and war, bro. All is fair in love and war. Especially in the first half of a football game, man. I mean, I'm trying to choke you out in the first half. That should be the mentality. Bro. We ain't playing patty cake, and we ain't, no. I'm telling my boys, hey, we're going in here, and we are trying to we are not winning hearts and minds, bro. I don't care about your stinking feelings. If it's 60-0 at the half, good. That is really the mentality that we should have, man. And you know what? You go into, and I'm being, obviously facetious here, to a certain extent, 60-0 at the half. I'm not expecting that. But 35-3, 42-7, something like that, that's a whooping, bro. That's something that catches people's eyes. They're like, yeah, that was a 1-5 team, but good night, man. They put it on them. That's what we need in order to make up the ground. Now, we're sitting in a good spot. I'm not at all trying to insinuate that, where we're at, number 10 in the country, undefeated, with the schedule that we have in front of us is not advantageous, because it is. We have a marvelous opportunity, and we will continue to move up as long as we start stacking wins, but let's say one team struggles one week. Carolina handles somebody, they handle them, I don't know, hypothetically 55 to 10. And then, you have another team that they skate by with a 37 to 30 victory, 37-34. That's not sexy. And then you start looking at margin of victory, and they're like, man, Carolina's got to move up. Yeah, I mean, they played stinking Virginia, but we got to move them up. I don't know. I don't care what you do against Campbell. That's probably not going to really move the needle at all. I mean, that's one of those ones where you got to blow them out, because if you don't, people are looking at you, and it's more negative. There's more possibility for negative against Campbell than positive, because nobody cares if you blow it up. That's what's to be expected. But if it ain't a 40-point victory, people are going to look at you sideways. But yeah, man, Virginia, and even Georgia Tech, man, that's one of those games where we should realistically win by, it's a away game. I'll say we need to win by, 20 or more in order for it to be sexy, a sexy win. Because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about how can we be sexy to the CFP voters when those polls come out. Obviously, the main thing is we got to continue stacking wins. All right. I'm talking from the perspective of we should win these next 3 football games. Okay. Obviously, there's no letdowns. We're not having any letdowns. That's if we come in there and handle business and we get the W, which we should. Favored in all 3 of these games. Not even close. But you got to start putting those style points together, man. And, I think it starts this Saturday, because now we're moving into that uncharted territory. And we got 6 games and an ACC championship game. 6 games and an ACC championship game to prove that we belong in that top 4. And now we're just completely paving the way for a new chapter of Carolina football, man. And that's exciting. That is absolutely exciting. A lot of people thought, and you can go back and look. You can go back and look at comments, and, even in my preview, my college football preview, man, a lot of people were like, bro, you are crazy. Carolina 11-1? You're crazy. And I'm, look, Clemson is Clemson. And, it's still a really good football team. But I'll be honest with you. After watching Clemson play a couple times, that's a beatable team. And, if I had to say today, I think Carolina should be favored in that football game. Because Clemson's offense, man, is really up in the air. And I mean, that's the team that you're going to point to. That's the team that you're going to point to as the biggest speed bump in the way. Obviously, NC State is a rivalry. Duke is a rivalry. That's going to be a really fun stretch and an important stretch. But, you still look at Clemson as, yeah, but what about Death Valley? Hey, I think we should be favored in that football game, man. And I think it's probably the best opportunity that we've had in a long time to win at Clemson. So, but you got to win with style points. Now, getting a W at Clemson is getting a W at Clemson. Kind of like what Florida State did. They kind of snuck by, and you see that they're number 4, number 5. They're in the top 5. So, but they also have the name brand, the football name brand, if you will, that, they can beat Boston College by 2, and they can skate by Florida State or Clemson, and a lot of people aren't going to back too much of an eye. Maybe they'll drop a spot or 2 in the polls, and then, they beat Syracuse like we did, and it's like, oh yeah, they deserve to be there, which I agree that they do. But really, really important stretch here, man. where we don't drop the ball, dude. Marvelous opportunity in front of us. So that's what I'm looking for, man. I'm looking for some style points. I'm looking for Carolina to win big. I'm looking for Carolina to play, the backups for the entire, at least fourth quarter after they just poured it on. And I'm talking about a flood. Not, a little trickle. Not just, I don't want to hurt their feelings. No, we hurt their feelings for at least a half. Preferably a third quarter. And that's everybody. Everybody gets their feelings hurt. That's not unsportsmanlike, man. That's not. It's unsportsmanlike when you're up, 60-0, and it's fourth quarter and you're airing it out and you're stinking scoring. No, that's when it's getting ridiculous. But we're gonna pour it on, bro. We're gonna pour it on until there is absolutely no shadow of a doubt that you don't belong on the same field as us. And that's what we got to do to Virginia this Saturday, man. So that's one of the things I'm looking for, man. That's my Russ's rant in the sense that, Carolina's been a while since they blew a couple of guys out in a row, man. We played Syracuse pretty well, 40-7. That's a pretty good victory, but it could have been worse. I mean, did we not leave at least 14 points on the table there? Does 54-7, 55-7, is that sexier than 40-7? You daggone right it is. It just is. That's kind of an eyebrow raiser. 40-7 is like, okay, that's a pretty good victory, man. It's, solid dub. 50s and holding people under 10, that's eyebrow raising stuff. And that's what we need to do. So, let me know what you think, Tar Heel Nation. All right? Is your boy onto something, man? Am I being a little overzealous? Can we beat Virginia? Can we just smash them like that? Is that unsportsmanlike? I don't think it is, especially when you're trying to do what Carolina's trying to do, right? And that's make an ACC title run and, get to the CFP and even potentially make a CFP a college football championship run right here. What do you need to see from this team this Saturday? What is acceptable? How about we do it that way? What is an acceptable margin of victory? What is the lowest that you would say, okay, you know what, that's acceptable? Do you think that if they beat Virginia 31-10, do you think that's an acceptable margin of victory? Or do you think it needs to be something like, 55-10, 55-14? Because that's what your boy thinks. That's what's going to start raising some eyebrows. So I want to know what you think, man. If you haven't already, baby, like, share, subscribe to the content. Tar Heel Nation, this is home. College football family, I appreciate you guys being here. And we'll see what happens this Saturday, bro. We'll see if they can get that eyebrow-raising win. Love you, Tar Heel Nation, and we will catch you on the next one.